and welcome to the next YouTube video on my channel, SchachRomatt. In this video I'm going to show you a new chess trap with which you can absolutely destroy your opponent already at the beginning of the game, and that's the PONZIANI trap. At first I will show and explain you how this trap will look like if it will work perfectly, so if your opponent will do every move that you want him to do, and then I will show you all the moves of this trap once again and explain them a bit more detailed. And I will also show you how to defend yourself with the black chess pieces when your opponent tries to play this trap against you with the idea not to get completely destroyed after already some of the first moves. So let's get started. If you're also interested in other chess traps, then feel free to check out the other YouTube videos on my channel and don't forget to subscribe. As I've already said, this trap begins with the PONZIANI opening. So we start with pawns to e4 and e5. Now we take black's pawn on e5 with a move with our knight on f3, and the black player defends their pawn with knight to c6. And here we now play the very interesting and also the main, or also called the key move of the PONZIANI opening. That's pawn to c3. And if the black army continues now with developing their second knight on f6, attacking our pawn on e4, we don't defend the pawn with moves like, for example, bishop d3 or also queen to e2, but we rather play pawn to d4, challenging our opponent here now in the center of the chessboard. Now the black knight just takes out our pawn here on e4, but we don't take out now black's pawn on e5 with our pawn, but we rather keep on attacking, and we do this by moving our pawn one square up on d5, attacking black's knight on c6, which escapes now on e7. And here, in this position, after we have taken out black's pawn on e5 with our knight from f3, and the black player has answered with pawn to d6 attacking our knight, we can really say that we now got in a very good position for us, or I could also say in a winning position, because now we continue with bishop to b5 with check. Here in this position, after bishop to b5 with check, the black army has really one move, or one good move, which does not get itself into a very bad losing position. But I will show you this move later in this video. If black plays here queen to b7 to block the check, then we obviously just take out black's queen with our bishop from b5 with check, winning the bishop. If the black army decides to block the check with bishop to d7, then we also just take out the bishop with our bishop from b5 with check, forcing our opponent to take out the bishop with the queen, and here we just again win the queen by taking the queen out with our knight from e5. Another option for the black army to block the b5 check here with the bishop is to move with the knight here on c6. But here we now just take out black's knight on c6 with our knight, attacking the black queen here on d8, and after the black army has taken out our knight on c6 with a c-pawn, we take back, or we capture back the pawn here with our bishop from b5, forking our opponent's army by attacking the king or checking the queen, and at the same time also attacking the rook here on a8 in the corner of the chessboard. Okay, so how I've already said, I will go through all the moves of this trap now once again and explain them a bit more detailed, and I will also show you how to defend yourself with the black chess pieces now against this trap, with the idea not to lose, like how I've just shown you before. So you can basically always try to play this trap against your opponent when he answers with knight to f6 in this position after you have played the PONZIANI opening with the main move pawn to c3. So yes, actually black has many different options instead of playing knight to f6. They can also just easily play pawn to d5, challenging us now in the center of the chessboard, but moves like pawn to f5 or pawn to a6 to prevent bishop to b5, pinning the c knight here if we, for example, play pawn to d6, or also knight to e7, the Hungarian defense. If the player who plays the black chess pieces answers on pawn to c6 with knight to f, with pawn to c3 with knight to f6, attacking our pawn here on e4, then we can continue with the trap without any problems. And here we now don't defend our pawn on e4, however I've already said, but we rather play pawn to d4, attacking black's pawn on e5. Of course, the black army doesn't have to take out our pawn here on e4 with the knight. They could also just trade pawns here in the center of the chessboard by taking out our pawn on d4 with their own pawn, and then we would take back with our pawn like this. But if the player who plays the black chess pieces decides not to trade the pawns, but rather to play the move, which actually is just a better move because it wins material, then they will just take out our pawn here on e4 with the knight, which was completely undefended, so free, or also called a gift for the black army. But here we now don't take out black's pawn on e5, but we rather keep on pushing our pawn by moving it on d5 and taking black's knight here on c6. And the only squares on which the knight can escape here are either on e7, which would now be exactly the move that we want him to do to continue with the trap, but of course bishop to b8, which is really not a good move, would also be working to save the knight. If the black knight, for example, would move on a5, then after pawn to b4, the black army would just lose the knight, which obviously wouldn't be good for the black army. The best move after pawn to d5, attacking black's knight here on c6, actually would be to sacrifice the knight by playing the very strong move bishop to c5, threatening a fork here on f2 with the knight, on which the black army would win our rook here. So I still believe that a lot of players will do the mistake and won't play bishop to c5, but they will rather escape now on e7 with the knight. And here we continue now by taking out black's pawn on e5 with our knight from f3, and now the game, in terms of points of material which one army is winning, is really equal. Because now both of the armies have taken out one pawn here. The black army has taken out our pawn on e5, and we have now just taken out black's pawn on e5. Yes, so here, if the black army continues now with pawn to d6, then this is obviously a very big mistake because of the move that follows, and that's bishop to b5 with check. The better move here are obviously, for example, knight to g6 to trade knights here, or with the other knight on d6, with the other knight on f6, and so on. But I think that still a lot of players, especially beginners, will continue now with pawn to d6 to just bring away our knight here on e5, which really seems to be dangerous, for example, because of the very important f7 square. So after the black army has played pawn to d6, then we obviously do not move away our knight here on e5, but we rather play the very strong move, bishop to b5 with check. So yeah, I've already said that in this position there's actually just one good move not to really lose lots of material here for the black army, and that's just pawn to c6 to block the check, because queen to d7 loses the queen, bishop to d7 loses the queen in 2 moves also, and knight to c6 loses the rook after a very strong fork. Here the black army should just play pawn to c6, on which we would obviously answer with pawn to c6, so we just take out the pawn, and the black pawn on b7 takes out our pawn too. Here, after we have taken out the black pawn on c6 with our knight attacking our opponent's queen, it would be obviously again a mistake to take out the knight here with their own knight, because of the following fork here, on which the black army would again just lose the rook. Here, the black army should just move on b6 with the queen to escape from the attack from the knight on the queen, and to attack the bishop here on b5. So that was it then already on this video, in which I have shown you the very strong checkmate trap or material winning trap with which you can absolutely destroy your opponent, and this was the Ponziani trap with the Ponziani opening. Very interesting opening. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like there, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, Bye.